So thank you again for joining me. We are going to jump right in on why eating for fat loss is not the same thing as eating clean or eating healthy. And I think a lot of this stuff is going to make so much sense. You've heard it before, but you haven't been able to kind of like piece all the pieces together in a way that makes sense for you. So my goal, sorry, I have the heater on, but I'm going to turn it off so you guys don't get distracted by it. My goal is to really teach you the most basic things that I can about how your body works for fat loss, and why eating healthy isn't always the actual, like, the thing that you need to do. And that's why, people are doing things like Whole30 or paleo, and they're like, it doesn't work. Well, it's like, well, what was your goal? Was your goal to be healthier? It probably did work. If your goal was to lose fat, though, that may not have been the end result. For some people, that's exactly what they need. And for other people, it's like pulling your hair out. What do you mean I just gave up sugar for 30 days and my waistline didn't change? How the heck, what am I supposed to do now? You feel like you've tried everything. You feel like nothing works. Maybe things that used to work in your 20s or early 30s don't work now that you're, in your 40s. Or, something that you even tried 2 years ago that was like the easiest diet ever. And you're like, oh, I'll put this in my back pocket anytime I need it. And suddenly it doesn't work anymore and you're, going crazy. I will tell you that I have worked with women exclusively for the past 3 or so years. And you are not alone in feeling that way. And unfortunately, many of us get caught in that wicked spiral, and then we give up completely. We're just like, okay, you know what? Fat just is not going to come off of me no matter what I do. 3 months later, I'm right back to where I was, and I'm grumpier, and I'll just put another checkbox in that, for another diet I tried and didn't work for me. So if that is the case, then likely it is because those diets were not set up for fat loss. And the reason for that, for the most part, is that they're missing one part of the equation. So I'm going to ask you right now to just clear your head, clear your mind of all the stuff that you've ever heard before. And when I start talking to you about, hormones and fat loss and eating for fat loss, that you don't just nod your head and agree and then just let that go into your, I want you to try to lock that in your vault of things to remind yourself of when you start hearing about other diets or fads or things like that, so that you can quickly assess and say, hey, you know what? Even though friend over there just lost 20 pounds doing that, I actually kind of understand how the body works now, and I'm going to think through if that's actually going to work long term, right? Because it doesn't matter if you can lose 30 pounds if you're going to gain 50 back in less than a year, right? Everybody's kind of been there before. So we are going to talk about a few things before we actually jump into how to eat for fat loss. And the few things that we're going to talk about are your hormones and why the eat less, exercise more model that almost every diet you hear on the market emphasizes actually does not work the way that it's supposed to. We approach fat loss like we are all kind of this pretty complex math equation, right? So you have so many calories you're supposed to eat every day, and if you eat less and you exercise more, you'll be at enough of a deficit that fat will just melt off your body and we'll all walk around looking like bikini models in 6 months, right? If that was the way it worked, you guys, you wouldn't have tried every single diet that you've already tried before. What you're learning through that trial and error of trying all these things is that there are certain hormonal signals that your body is going to send you the minute you start doing eat less, exercise more for an extended period of time that make eat less and exercise more unsustainable. And some of those hormonal things that you're going to feel are increased hunger, increased cravings, inability to feel like energized. You're constantly like thinking about food, or really lethargic for whatever reason. You're like, I should be feeling okay, but I'm not, right? The other thing that we see a lot of is that with eat less and exercise more, it ends up having like these periods of like binging in between where you just cannot say no anymore. So you just eat, and then you can go back to eating less and exercising more, right? So what all of that is telling you is these are actual signals from your body saying, hey, this isn't working. We're really, really hungry. You have to figure something else out because we are starving. That is truly what is happening when we go with eat less and exercise more and completely do not pay any attention to our hormonal signals. You are starving. So how do your hormones talk to you? Well, I already kind of gave you some of the ways that our hormones talk to us, but our hormones talk to us in a number of ways. If you feel like your hunger is balanced, that your energy is high, and that your cravings are pretty low, that's your hormones telling you, hey, you're doing exactly what you should be doing. Keep it up. I feel great, right? And that's what we all want. We want to feel good and look good. But let's say you are eating a certain way, and even though your energy is up, you have intense cravings. Maybe it's for sugar, maybe it's for alcohol or something like that. That's your hormones talking to you and saying, hey, something's out of whack and we need to fix it. And those signals do not go away. They are not like, all of you ladies have probably done this before, but a little kid saying, mom, 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 and eventually you just kind of like can tune it out and you're like, whatever, I'm cool. That is not our body with our hormones. They will continue to ping you. So I was talking to some of my faster way ladies, and I made this analogy, and I think it's so perfect here too. And that is when you try to ignore your hormones, it is like getting tapped on the shoulder in the same exact spot, very lightly. 5 minutes of that probably won't bother you, but 3 hours of that and you're probably going to have a bruise, and 17 hours of that and your skin's probably going to be raw, right? Eventually you're going to have to tell whoever's tapping you to stop. That really hurts, right? So that's kind of how our hormones are with us too. They're persistent, and they will continue to keep bothering you until you pay attention to them. Unfortunately, the way we pay attention to them most of the time is that we end up crashing and burning and completely have to we feel derailed. We feel like there's no willpower left, right? And then we just feel defeated, and that we somehow were the failure in this eat less, exercise more. After all, most of the time, the people promoting these diets are really in shape. They look and feel amazing. You watch them on Instagram. They seem to have all this energy. And you're like, okay, well, this is working for them. Why isn't it working for me? And the reason is because they've taken the time to learn what works for their body and their hormones. And now they're trying to project that onto you, because truly, most of them are probably in the same boat that I'm in, which is they want people to feel great and amazing. So they're trying to share what they've done, but they haven't truly understood kind of what goes on in our bodies. So a couple of things happens in your body when you decide to eat less and exercise more. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time here because I really think it's important that you get some of the basics so that you can understand when we do talk about fat loss, how different that really looks, okay? So some of the things that you need to learn. You've already learned that your hormones are so important and we can't ignore them. They won't let it happen, okay? So if your hormones need to be happy, what the heck are you supposed to do, right? You have to eat less or exercise more to create a calorie deficit, right? And yes, absolutely, calorie deficits from what you need to be eating to what you are actually eating or consuming is the key to losing fat, losing weight, all of those things. But for most of us, the way that we approach that calorie deficit is in extremes. And it's also a lot of the time, ladies, I hate to say this, but a lot of times you girls are already eating at such a deficit that you actually need to eat more food. So we'll kind of talk through a few of those things too. But let's just talk what happens if you've been dieting the traditional sense of eating less food and exercising more for, let's say, 4 months, okay? So you started out where your body could pretty much maintain what it looked like on, for ease, let's say 2,000 calories, okay? So for the past 6 months, you've been eating 2,000 calories. Your body hasn't changed. Maybe your weight has gone up 1 to 2 pounds, but nothing drastic. So you're pretty good at saying, hey, my metabolic rate is probably around 2,000 calories. When I eat more than that, I gain weight. When I eat less, I probably lose weight, right? So you decide that this is the year that you're really going to work hard. So you're going to go into a 1,500 calorie a day diet starting on the new year, right? So you've been going at it. So now your body was at 2,000 calories, and now you're giving it 1,500 calories. So there's a 500 calorie deficit, which traditional would say you're going to lose a pound of fat a week, right? A pound of weight a week is what you're looking for. So you're like, okay, I got this, a pound a week. That's cool. You know, in 7 weeks, I'm going to be down 7 pounds. Most of us probably think we're going to be down 25 pounds in that 7 weeks, but I won't even go there. So what's happening with your body now? So you have all this stored body fat, which should be able to make up for that deficit, right? That's the idea. When you say I want to burn fat, the idea is that your body gives the deficit, that 500 calories of fat, so calories that have been stored in your bottom, right, to make up the difference so that you stay at that 2,000 calories. Unfortunately, what's happening though is that because you have cut your calories so quickly and for a long period of time, your body is now in this like, if we keep operating at 2,000 calories, we're going to be dead in like 2 months. So we need to figure out a way to either find more food to eat, hunger and cravings, or we need to slow the heck down and find a way to operate at this new lower level, because what's going to happen when we run out of body fat? We're going to die. This is not sustainable, right? So unfortunately, our bodies were built to sustain through these long periods of not having enough food, right? So if you look at like bears, for example, they're able to eat so much food, and then hibernate for an entire season where they get almost no food at all. Our bodies are very good at that as well. So when we get to a point where we're over restricting our calories, what ends up happening is that our body says, what can we slow down so that we can meet this new calorie intake every day? It does not want to give up your fat stores immediately. And the reason for that is that there is no, like, we don't know when we're going to be able to eat enough food again. So if we give up all of our fat right now, then if this lasts for more than 2 months, we're going to die. And your body's job is to stay alive. And if you're at a childbearing age, is to repopulate. So not eating enough food is not going to give your body the signal of, okay, just let's drop some body fat. Let's do this. You can do this. And some of you might be thinking, but you know what? I've tried that before and it actually worked. Like I cut my calories 500 a day and I lost like 45 pounds and I felt great and amazing. Well, let's talk through some of the ways our body can slow down that metabolism while still potentially losing some fat and other things, right? So I want you ladies to just think about your muscle and your fat on your body in a really fun way, okay? So your muscle on your body is your 4-year-old niece or nephew who is literally jumping up and down 24/7, right? And every time you're around them, you are legit exhausted by the end of the day. You can barely keep up with them. You're like praying for them to take a nap. You're like, oh my God, you have so much energy. I don't understand. Like, this is insane. This is insane, right? That is your muscle mass. So it is so metabolically active. It's like, woo, 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 give me all the things, right? So the more muscle you have, the more metabolism you have. So therefore, the less muscle you have, the less energy you need to stay alive, okay? So the other side of that is your 16-year-old nephew who likes to play video games every single day and eat Doritos, okay? He is like your fat cells. He is pretty content, not moving a lot. He really doesn't need anything to stay happy or content except a new video game, right? And keeping him around is really easy. He could stay at your house for 3 weeks. You probably wouldn't even notice he was there, except for the noise of the video games and the need of Doritos, right? Like, so it's really easy for your body to go, you know what? You're cool. You can just stay here. Not really bothering me. You take almost zero energy to keep around, right? So when we are looking for ways to meet or match that new lower level of activity, of food that we're consuming, the first thing your body is going to do once it's consistent of like, okay, we're not getting that food, it's gone, something happened, right? Because what goes on in the outside world and what your cells know what's going on are two different things, you guys. And that's really important to realize. Just because you know up here that food is abundant does not mean that your cells understand that food is abundant. Your cells only know what you give it via hormones, okay? So your hormones are telling the rest of your body that there's less food than there used to be. So we need to find a way to live in this new environment, right? Your body is going to respond and go, yo, muscle, you got to get out of here. You are way too active and you require a ton of energy to keep up, right? So what do? Our bodies, we start losing weight, and the weight we lose ends up being that muscle mass, not fat. And if you have ever done a calorie restrictive diet, and I always say this, and you were a fluffy marshmallow before your calorie restricted diet, when you finished it, you probably looked like the same marshmallow, but smaller, right? You didn't magically gain muscle or anything like that. You still had fat in all the areas you used to have fat, and you probably had a lot of hunger, a lot of cravings all the time, and the way that you lost the weight wasn't sustainable for long term. So what ended up happening was eventually maybe you hit your goal weight, but very quickly you found that as you increased your calories, because you should be at maintenance mode now, you were gaining weight very quickly. And the reason for that is, ding ding, if you haven't figured it out yet, as you were losing weight, you lost your muscle mass. And you're probably like, oh, why is that important? Well, your muscle mass is your metabolism. It's not waking up early and eating food right away. It's not the amount of time that you spend at the gym doing cardio. It's literally your muscle, how much lean muscle you have, because it's so energy active. That is truly your metabolism. So if you want to increase your metabolism, your body's ability to burn calories at rest, that's your metabolism, then you need to make sure that you preserve your muscle mass as you're restricting your calories. And this is the big thing that we miss out on with all of this. So you're probably thinking, what do I do? Because everything that I read is, you should have lots of protein. You shouldn't have any protein. You should run for 3 hours. Look at this marathon runner. She looks amazing. And I'm going to tell you right now that the answer is probably something that you already know. And that answer is that we're going to have to exercise strategically to keep that muscle. And we're also going to have to eat in a way that we aren't making these huge calorie gaps for ourselves. So if you were maintaining at 2,000 calories, instead of jumping down to 1,500, it may have been a better idea to increase maybe weight training to bring down some of your calories. That would have kept your muscle mass up, and maybe restricting your calories by 200 instead of 500. So that way you're able to slow down the process, yeah, it's slower, but you know what? It's maintainable. And you're also keeping your lean muscle mass, which is metabolically active. I was just reading today, and it was like the best analogy ever. And it was that your body is like playing tug of war when you go on eat less, exercise more diets. Okay. So what happens when you play tug of war? You're pulling with all of your might. They're pulling with all of their might. And eventually you guys just get exhausted and you give up, right? You're like, I'm done. So if you think about that, you're using your willpower at 100% all the time. And your hormones, remember I told you, they don't give up. They are at the other side sending you hunger and cravings and reducing your muscle mass so that you don't burn as many calories at once. And eventually, you guys both give up and you get right back into eating what you used to eat, feeling like you can't ever lose any weight, anything like that. But here's the thing. This is what I love today. The idea was that if you're playing tug of war, right, and you're pulling everything you got and they're pulling with everything they got and you let go, what happens? They fall on their face, right? And we've all been there before. So what I'm asking you right now is to let go of eat less, exercise more. Just let it go. It does not work. Anytime you're reading through a diet guideline and it seems like it's saying you have to eat less and exercise more, I want you to give up. It ain't going to work, okay? So hopefully you guys now understand hormones are never going to give up. Number two, that metabolically, the way to increase your metabolism is to build lean muscle or keep your lean muscle as you lose fat. So just looking at reducing your calories or exercising more, especially cardio, is not going to help you keep your muscle mass, okay? So let's then talk about why so many people promote clean eating or eating healthy or eating paleo or Whole30, and why I'm telling you that even though those are great approaches to becoming the healthiest version of yourself, they are not going to provide you fat loss. Those two things are very, very different. And I want you guys to just sit down and think about this, okay? Can you overeat blueberries? Can you overeat cookies? The answer to both is yes. And usually that is where we get into trouble when we approach things from just this is good, this is bad approach, right? So all cookies are bad. Anything that, you know, is from the ground or had a mother or whatever, paleo approach, Whole30 approach, clean eating approach, any of those things, anything of that is good, right? So if we say that, then we automatically say, I should be able to eat as much as I want of the good stuff. Or you might be in the camp, ladies, a lot of you, where you're actually not eating enough of either the good stuff or the bad stuff. In either of those kind of scenarios, what's happening is that even though you're eating for health, you might be overeating or undereating for fat loss. We've already talked about what undereating looks like. That looks like your body is going to slow down your metabolic processes, send you cravings and hunger signals all the time. And overeating, well, you guys already know what happens when you overeat, even the good stuff, right? And that is excess calories. If they are not used by your body, if they do not have somewhere to go, they get stored as fat. Period. End of story. You can't help it. Your body is what it is, right? It's just, that's what your fat storage is for. So you might be thinking, I don't even know what to do now. Like, you took away my paleo, and I'm not saying don't do paleo. What I'm saying is that you need a hybrid approach. You need what I call a flexible approach. And that approach is something that allows you to have carbs, but have fat, have protein, eat cake when you want to, have wine with your friends, eat cookies, all those things, right? Because we are people. This has to be a lifestyle. This has to be something that you can do forever, because you guys already know anything that isn't a lifestyle is usually that eat less, exercise more habit. And those don't work long term. And the last thing I want any of you to do is to find an approach that gets you to your goal, but then can't keep you there, because that is not me doing my job. My job truly is to give you all the information that you need so that you can live your best life, so that you know that from now on going forward, every approach that you take is sustainable, and that you know as soon as you hear something, ignore, or investigate, right? So you're probably thinking, all right, so I get it, Sam. I know I need to reduce my calories a little bit, and I really want to make sure I keep my lean muscle. So how the heck do I tell my body to make up that difference with my body fat? Like, give me the answer. I need it now. And this is where I was 2 years ago, ladies. I want you to know that I was a chronic yo-yo dieter. Everything that I wanted to do was 3 to 6 months was the max I could stay on something. And then I ballooned up. Literally, I can tell you, every single time I gained all the weight I lost within 4 weeks, every single time. And it's because I was not focusing on sustainability. So what I was looking for was, how do I tell my body to keep all the muscle I've spent so much time building, but to get rid of this fat for good, because I'm tired of yo-yo dieting. I'm tired of things not working. And what I stumbled upon was the faster way to fat loss. And what really intrigued me was the intermittent fasting part of this. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how we can talk our bodies into utilizing our fat stores for that energy deficit. So again, if you're at 2,000 calories a day and you come down to, let's say, 1,700 calories a day, so it's not as big of a deficit, you want to try to keep your body burning at 2,000 calories a day, because if it can do that and you're eating less, then you will actually lose pounds, right? That is truly, if you can keep your body up here instead of convincing it to come back down here, aka use body fat is as that primer, is the actual way to keep your metabolism going. If you can do that, you will lose body fat. That's the only way your body's going to be able to do it. So that's why intermittent fasting was so critical for me when I learned about it. Let's talk a little bit about intermittent fasting and why it's so good for women, specifically in fat loss, not weight loss, okay, fat loss. So intermittent fasting is that you eat all of your calories in this really short window of time. So for most of us, we get up in the morning and by 7 o'clock, we are having breakfast. And we eat all day long, and at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, we have our last little piece of chocolate or whatever it is. We go crawl into bed, and we do it all again the next day. And we are eating for 17 hours a day, right? On and off all day long. The reason that this is so detrimental to us is because when you are eating all day long, you are secreting insulin. And we've all heard of insulin, and it's been, terrorized as the worst thing ever. But none of us understand why. You're like, okay, why don't I want insulin? I'm confused. I thought that was good. So I want to talk to you really quick about insulin. So insulin is your storage hormone. And I've used this analogy before, and I think it's a really good analogy, so I'm going to use it again. And your insulin's job is essentially to pick things up and put them away. Okay, so it is, for this analogy, it's the mom hormone. So your kids destroy their playroom, whatever it is, and you cannot stand looking at it anymore. So you are going to pick up everything off the floor and put it away. That is insulin's job. As you eat food, it goes, okay, we need to do something with this right away. I can't have all this stuff going through our bloodstream. It needs to go somewhere. So just like a good mom, insulin says, all right, where do we have room for this? Or where does this go, right? And it starts putting things where they need to go. Now, any good mom's going to tell you that they're not letting their kids back in that room while they're cleaning up, because the kids are just going to start throwing stuff right back out of where mom just spent time putting it away, right? She's going to say, get out of this room, maybe go do your homework or go have a snack, do something else, but get out of this room. You're not allowed in here, right? That's insulin's role. So when insulin is putting things away, the other side of that would be taking it back out, aka using fat. So what happens in the body is that when insulin is up, you cannot burn fat, okay? So it's like a seesaw. When insulin's up, you cannot burn fat because it's trying to put things away. And if you burn fat, you'd be taking away from everything it's doing. When insulin is down, your body can burn body fat. So hopefully you girls can see the seesaw and kind of understand why eating all day long can kind of get in the way of burning body fat, right? So what the heck does intermittent fasting have to do with this? Well, intermittent fasting is eating for a shorter period of time. So even though during that time window of eating, our insulin will be raised just like it is, you actually have a really long time. So for us with fast-rated fat loss, we do what we call a 16-8. So you fast for 16 hours a day and you eat for 8 hours a day. And at first you're like, oh my God, I don't think I can do that. That's insane. And that's probably 99% of my clients. They walk into this and they're like, listen, fasting is very intimidating. I'm overwhelmed and I haven't even started. And I will tell you right now, most of your fast happens during your sleep. So let's just calm down. Let's think about this. If you normally go to bed at 11 o'clock and you wake up at 6 o'clock every day and you're getting 7 hours of sleep, so you already do a 7-hour fast every single day, okay? So what do? Maybe in the beginning, you try for a 12-hour fast. Maybe you could do that tomorrow. You can go and say, you know what, I want to try this. I want to try intermittent fasting. I'm going to do a 12-hour fast. So already you are shortening the amount of time that insulin is kind of doing its thing in your body, just in a 12-hour window. And then you slowly move it to a 13-hour fast, and then a 14-hour fast. So this isn't something that you're supposed to be like a pro at the next day. It's something that you kind of step into. And that's why we do the faster rate of fat loss the way that we do, because we step into all of these things. But let's talk about why we fast. So for most of us, there is about a 12-hour window where our insulin stays high after our last meal, especially if it was a big meal. So just kind of let that set in. Even though you haven't eaten for 12 hours, you still might be having a spiked insulin level from the last meal you ate. And we just talked about how when your insulin is high, you are less likely to burn body fat. So after about 12 hours, and some people it's less, some people it's a little bit more, so we say 12 hours. After that 12-hour window, the rest of the time after that, so if it's an hour, if it's 2 hours, 3 hours, after that insulin level drops, your body still needs to function, right? And now there's no fuel coming in, so you're not eating. So your body has to go somewhere to get the energy for breathing, sleeping, talking, typing, jogging, running, exercising, whatever it's doing in that window where you haven't eaten, and you're like, okay, that's what your body fat's for, right? It's what it's supposed to be there for. So when you don't have food, you use your body fat. If you have the right hormone signals going because you've been eating enough food and exercising the right way, your body will ultimately say, you know what, we got plenty of fat. I'm just going to go and grab some of that, right? So it's like when you get a bunch of stuff on sale at the store, and you, if you're like me, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to put it all away, and when I need it, it's there, right? That's what your body fat is. So if you've got a bunch of stuff on sale and then you need it for chili, you'd be like, oh, I know I got that tomato sauce. And you feel really good because you didn't have to go to the store, right? Whatever. That's essentially what your body is doing when you are using fat for fuel. It's saying, we have all this extra. I can use that. No big deal. Not going to sweat it, right? But when we don't have the right hormonal signaling because we've been under eating too extensively or over exercising too extensively, your body does not automatically think, oh, go to my fat stores, because you might think, and this is where the going to the grocery store, if something got discontinued and I bought everything on the shelf because they're never going to make it again, I'm going to be really picky about when I use those products, right? So that's kind of like your body at hormonal dysregulation. And so when you are fasting, even if you do this approach and you're doing the 16-hour fast, your body is not guaranteed to go to your fat stores unless your hormones are happy. And that's why I spent so much time kind of explaining to you that you can't go at this as an eating less approach. If you want to lose body fat, you need to make sure you're eating enough food to send the signals to your body that, hey, we are just short for this little bit of time. We're going to make back up for it later. So don't worry about breaking down that muscle mass. Instead, can you just give me some fat? So we have a question. How quickly should we plan to go from 12 hours to 16 hours? Should it be 1 hour or more each week? You know what? That's going to completely depend on you. For most of my clients, Nora, it actually is a lot easier than they expect. I usually say start at 12 hours. If that was super easy, add another hour the next day. And if you don't make it through that whole extra hour, that's fine. You know that that's where you need to be. Some people can jump right into 14 or 15 hours. A lot of people tell me, I was never a good breakfast eater. So this is actually great for me because I've been forcing myself to eat breakfast and it seems unnatural. And some people say, I wake up and I'm so hungry. And so you have to then say, did you eat enough food the day before, right? Because a lot of times the reason we are so hungry is because we are under eating chronically and those signals are being sent all the time. I told you, hormones do not give up. They are consistent and persistent. So if you wake up starving, it may be because that you haven't been eating enough food. You love breakfast. I'm starving at 6 a.m. I'm pushing it to 8 a.m., but I'm trying. Make sure you're eating enough food. That's probably a big part of it, and that you're hydrating properly as well. So you have to remember that our bodies are made up for survival before anything else. And so if you're consistently starving all the time and you wake up hungry and you don't want to, like you just can't make it, then maybe your fast is from 6 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you don't eat again for the rest of the day. I know that sounds a little crazy, but again, this is something you slowly work into, and everybody's going to be different. So don't feel like, there's a set, everybody by the first week should be doing X, Y, Z. It's, making progress, starting at 12 hours, because that's kind of like that tipping point, getting into 13 hours, seeing how you feel, getting into 14 hours, see how you feel, and then slowly making your way into that. For some people, going 16 to 18 to 20 hours is no big deal. And that's just, everybody's so different. And that's what I love about this approach. There's so much flexibility with when you can do your fast, how, like what time you break your fast. So if you're a morning exerciser and you want to have lunch or breakfast at 10:30 every morning, because your day gets really crazy and you don't get a traditional lunch break, you can do your intermittent fasting from 10:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon, or whatever, 6:30 in the afternoon, 6:30 in the afternoon, and be totally fine. So this is going to be what works for you and for your body. So that is what I loved about intermittent fasting, though, because I understood the idea of having to reduce my calories. And I kind of at that point understood the importance of my muscle mass. But what I did not understand was how my eating patterns of eating literally as soon as I woke up and then every 2 or 3 hours, and I was eating until I went to bed at night because I was just so hungry because my meals were tiny, right? 400 calories was like a huge meal for me. It was 200 calories in these tiny little increments all day long, right? I was having so many protein shakes and protein bars and all these things trying to get so that I didn't like eat somebody's face off when I, went without 2 hours of food. And that truly was because my insulin was out of control. And that insulin is that storage hormone. And when I finally started being able to recognized that the pattern that I had been kind of creating in my body was making this hormonal response of like, yo, I'm hungry. Hey, I'm hungry. Hungry again. I'm still hungry, right? That was my body telling me my hormones were not happy with the way I was eating. And I've mentioned this before. If you know a lot about me, I'm a volume eater. So it takes a lot of food for me to actually feel full. So eating those tiny little meals, the only way I ever felt full was if they were like giant salads, and then I was like disgusted with myself full, right? So there was never like this fun place in the middle, because my meals had to be small as far as calorie wise all day long. We're intermittent fasting, because we close that window up, my meals almost have to be big, because I have to get in, usually about 1,900 calories every single day within 8 hours. So if you can imagine, if you break that into even 3 meals a day, I'm having 600 calories at each meal. And I feel so much more in control. I don't have all these crazy cravings. I don't find myself eating out of the pantry as often, things like that. So intermittent fasting really helped me break through so many of the boundary or the kind of things that were holding me back, but also making sure what I learned through the Faster Way to Fat Loss was that my calories needed to be controlled. So I was a chronic 1,200 calorie a day dieter. And then I would have these bouts of trying to follow like bodybuilding and having like these gaining times where I would eat more food, and that's where my muscle would come in. But then when I would try to go back to eating less calories again, that was when I was like starving all the time. And I was following, diets that bodybuilders were using. And I'm like, why isn't this working for me? And what I learned was that they're all starving too. And they just have this like need to be on a stage at some point, as their driving force, that willpower to get through it. And because I did not have that, it was so much harder for me to stick with the diet. If you've ever talked to anybody that's done competitive bodybuilding, women, you'll know that there is what they call like this 10-pound like gain of, it's not pretty. It's always fat almost immediately after their show. So once they start eating like a normal person again, they put on fat just like the rest of us do. So don't think that, there's something wrong or broken with you. It's not you, it's the approach. So that is why intermittent fasting has been a game changer for me. And what I'm seeing is that for my clients, it is the game changer as well. All of my clients are women. All of my clients are busy. They all have different stages in their lives. I've got one woman who is 65 and is, continuing to lose body fat in inches, even though she has been consistently eating clean and exercising for the past 3 years. She has seen more progress in the past 3 months than she's seen in the past year and a half, because she has implemented intermittent fasting. That was the key for her. She really didn't change her calories much. She changed the timing of her food, and also cut down a little bit on her exercise. But intermittent fasting, honestly, is for women specifically. We tend to want to undereat. So intermittent fasting is only going to work when you eat enough food. So just a heads up there. Make sure you're eating enough food every single day. The other part of why I love specifically the Faster Way to Fat Loss is because a lot of us get these ideas that, I lost so much weight doing low carb, but I couldn't keep it up. So it's not really for me, right? Well, there's a ton of benefit to actually eating a low carb diet. And a lot of that benefit, and you'll hear this a lot, is learning to use fat for fuel. And if you're like, okay, I want to use body fat for fuel. So priming your body for using carb cycling, where you go some days where we're eating primarily fat all day long for those calories, teaches your body how to utilize fat for fuel. Now, those days, most of the fat it's using is from food, but you get the same benefits. Your body, the more you carb cycle, the more your body learns how to utilize fat effectively. So if you primarily eat most of your day around starch, and I'll tell you what that looks like. You have a yogurt with a piece of toast in the morning. You have a sandwich and I don't know, a smoothie or something at lunch. Your snack in the middle of the day is pretzels and hummus, and your dinner is some sort of pasta or bread or something like that, or a potato with a little bit of meat, and then you finish the day with a couple of pieces of dark chocolate. You are eating primarily carbs for most of the day. So what that tells your body is A, your insulin's up all day, but B, that your body needs carbohydrates for energy. So it doesn't really learn how to utilize fat for energy. One, because your insulin's always up, and two, because you're feeding it carbs all the time. So our bodies prefer carbs. Surprise, right? And that's because they are the fastest to break down for our bodies to be used immediately for energy. So if you've ever had where you've been sleep deprived or really stressed out, and you have something that's got a lot of carbs in it and you instantly feel better, you feel like, oh, that was the energy I needed, that's because carbs are very quick to provide your body with fuel. So if you've been primarily eating carbs most of the time, which is what most of us do, which is fine, carb cycling is a great way to continue to eat lots of carbs most of the time, but then 1 or 2 or 3 days a week, you go into a lower carb, which teaches your body to use fat for fuel. And since you're still getting all of your calories in, you're still sending the right hormonal signals to your body. So that is what makes the Faster Way to Fat Loss the best program on the market, is the combination of these two things, using fat for fuel and carb cycling with intermittent fasting. So you guys now know the secrets of what I think eating for fat loss looks like. It is not just eating healthy, but it's utilizing intermittent fasting to help you use body fat for fuel. It's eating enough food, and it's also utilizing carb cycling in the best way. So you might be thinking, I'm a little bit overwhelmed, not quite sure. I know, Nora, you've already got questions. If this is something that you feel like can really change the way that you look at food and look at your life, and I can tell you right now, this was the game changer for me. I have not ballooned back up after, losing. I have a lot of muscle mass. I probably put on like 20 pounds of muscle in the past couple of years, but I have not put on any fat. So this has been the game changer for me. It's been a game changer for a lot of my clients. I just did the first round of the new year, and I had 11 clients comment to me, all brand new. They were not even in 4 weeks of the Faster Way. I had one client who lost 20 inches, 5 of them from her waist. I had one client who lost 17 inches, 3 of them from her waist. I had one client who lost 4.5 inches, and almost all of those came from her waist. So this is not like that. At first I was like, wow, these are crazy. And then I was like, this is not the anomaly. This is the basic. So I have one client who now has lost 10.5 inches, 2 from her waist, and she is now at the same weight she was before she went into menopause, which was her goal weight, and she's only 4 weeks into the program. So I'm going to tell you right now that for every woman that was in that group came to me before and said, listen, I'm at a point where I'm about to give up. I don't know how to eat and fuel my body for fat loss. I have tried everything. And I look at them and I told them, either through a message or through email, but you haven't tried this, so don't give up yet. And that is my message to you as well. If you feel like you've tried everything and you just cannot find the thing, I'm going to tell you right now, the Faster Way to Fat Loss has been the thing for so many women. Last month alone, there were over 1,000 women that went through the Faster Way to Fat Loss. I was lucky enough to coach a good amount. I think we had about 40 women in our last group, and over 11 of them were brand new, and they all saw results. All of them lost inches from their waist, and all of them have given me the thumbs up that this is something that they're able to sustain. The great news is that a lot of those women are coming in for round 2. So if you are joining me for the Faster Way coming up in a week, they're going to be right there with you. So you get to ask them all their questions. You get to bounce ideas off of them, and they're going to be there to help you and support you as I am as well. So the reason I really do believe, because I just gave you all the answers. I gave you what to do. That's what we talk about in the Faster Way. There's no big like surprise, ta-da. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of motivation and a lot of understanding the way your body works. But the reason I really do believe, and I know that this is the reason this program works, is the accountability and the friendships that you build through the Faster Way to Fat Loss. So the Faster Way is an online program. It's 6 weeks of actually doing the program and then 1 week of prep. So we do 1 full week starting this Monday will be the first prep week. And then from there, you have 6 more weeks of the program with me. So you get sick of me after 7 weeks. I'm just kidding. Hopefully you don't. But through that program, you are going to be part of a Facebook group. In that Facebook group, you're posting every single day. You know, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you are trying a new workout and you have like, oh, I don't really know what this is. All of that is for the group. You also post your macros. You post your accountability every single day. So I want to just like super duper quick show you girls exactly what I mean when I say like workouts. What are you talking about? And what do you get when you sign on to the Faster Way? So really quick, I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully this works. Let's see, share screen. All right, cool. So hopefully you girls can see my screen now. So this is the Faster Way, and I'm just going to hope that you guys can see this. I think you can, but this is what you get. So Faster Way to Fat Loss, you're going to get a comprehensive guide. You're going to get an exercise library. So really quick, going through the comprehensive guide, it's going to give you everything you need to know about the Faster Way to Fat Loss. So it's going to tell you about carb cycling, about intermittent fasting. It's going to tell you about what you do on a low macro day or a regular macro day, and all of that stuff will be explained. It also gives you a list of approved foods so that you can make a good grocery list. This is not an exhaustive list, just an example. It's also going to show you how to log your food, and it gives actual examples. So let's say you're doing a low carb day and you're trying to figure out, well, what do I need to eat that day? You can go through and say, okay, break my fast around noon, which seems doable, and I'm going to have couple of eggs, coffee, and then later, maybe an hour or two later, I might have some almonds because those are high in fat, and it just continues on. So you get a sample day for low macro day, low carb day, regular macro days, so that you really feel like between this and the group, you have a good understanding of what your days should look like. There's some ideas here, some special notes so that if you are breastfeeding or if you're a runner or things like that, there's some special notes there. So hopefully you understand now that when you sign up for this, if you sign up today, you're going to get this, the portal right away. So you can start reading and learning exactly what we're going to be implementing immediately. The second thing that I wanted to show you though quickly was that you are also going to get, and I'm going to try to make sure I share my screen because that would be helpful. You're also going to get access to workouts every single week. So these workouts are already here. You get access to them pretty much forever. And there's a beginner workout, a gym workout, or an at-home version. So let's say that you exercise pretty regularly, so you're pretty comfortable with like what a squat is. So you're going to do the workouts, but you're going to do them all at home because you don't have a gym membership. So let's say it's week 2 and you're doing an at-home workout. So it's going to literally go through day 1, day 2, day 3. What should you be doing? And let's say it's day 4 of week 2. And you're doing a back, bicep, and tricep workout that day. And it tells you to do some bent over rows. And you're like, I don't know if I know what that is. What do I do? What do I do? So you'll see that everything is already linked so that when you click on something, whether you're on your phone or something else, it's going to bring up a video to show you exactly what that exercise is. So you can see it's a bent over row. So that is exactly what you get, and that's why I love the Faster Way. As far as if you haven't been working out traditionally, or if you're trying to find a way to implement exercise along with eating better, that you don't have to have a ton of fancy equipment, but you have essentially a personal trainer in your pocket, which is great. Also, again, I'm a certified personal trainer and a certified nutrition coach. So if there are things that you're concerned about, worried about, you need modifications for, I'm always around as well to help you with those. So that's essentially what you get when you do the Faster Way. You get coaching, you get support. I'm with you every single day. I'm in there answering questions all day long. You get a ton of women who are literally incredibly pumped up because they just did their measurements and they know how effective this program is, and they are going to help carry you into being relaxed in this journey that you're going to be on. Because I know in the beginning, this all sounds really overwhelming. Carb cycling and maybe exercising and fasting and all this stuff. But I'm telling you right now, there's not one client that I have that after week 1 doesn't come to me and tell me, you know what, I've had more energy this week than I've had in such a long time. My clothes are already starting to fit better. I feel so much better. And I think I can do this. And then by the end of their actual first week, there are huge victories already. People are, sleeping through the night, not having any sugar cravings anymore, really looking forward to the fact that they can have wine with their husbands on date night, or they can still plan their week with, girlfriends' night out, whatever it is, and feel absolutely no guilt. Their pants are starting to fit better. I know I see Katie's on the line. She tells me all the time that the best feeling in the world is, because she's been doing the Faster Way, that she can put her jeans on right out of the dryer and not have to do like that crazy jean dance that you have to kind of convince your jeans that they're supposed to fit. They fit her perfectly right out of the dryer. And I've actually had 2 or 3 other clients recently put that as their non-scale victory as well, that they are wearing jeans that didn't even fit, and they're not even having to jump around to get into them. So if this is something that you are like, you know what, I know I can do this, but I'm going to need some guidance, and the accountability and the group seems like that's exactly what I need. So I can tell you ladies right now, it is so hard to give up when you have a group of people rallying around you that have the similar support, and they know what you're going through because they're going through it with you. That is one of the things that, that's why I don't do one-on-one coaching, because I think that there is more power in being around people who are going through it with you and having the same struggles at the same time. The power of the group is invaluable. And it just makes me continue to learn and grow. But it gives so many of my clients the opportunity to see results and success that maybe working alone with me they wouldn't have seen. And I know, unfortunately, not all of us have spouses or significant others that are in line with, doing a diet, right? It's like, I'm not eating that diet food. What are you doing? Why are you serving me vegetables, right? So it's nice to have a support group of people who you can talk through with that and get ideas with. So that's truly the value of the Faster Way for me. If possible, can you post this video link? Yes, I can, of course. I'll make sure that you get a video replay in your email. So just a heads up there if you want to catch this again later. But I really want you guys to understand that the Faster Way is a program made by women for women. And I'm not opening up a ton of slots for the next round because we already have so many people doing a second round. So if you are interested and you have not signed up yet, I really encourage you to get on and get that link going. Get in there now, because I cannot guarantee that I'm going to have a spot available if you wait until Saturday night to sign up for this. So I'm going to type a message to everyone and just share the link. If you have signed up, I appreciate it. I hope you've already gotten all of your stuff. If you haven't signed up, the link is in the chat function. You'll also get an email from me right after this to make sure that you understand if you need to replay this so that you can understand this information, or if you need to sign up there, I will make sure you get a link in your email. You'll get a link to this so that you can re-listen to it. And also, if you want to send it to a friend who you're like, this was really valuable, I want you to know that my goal is to promote wellness. My goal is to really make sure that as women, we're empowered with information that actually helps us feel the best that we can. It doesn't just continue to take away from our self-worth, because I truly believe that the dieting mentality that we're all kind of fed all of our lives takes away from some of our self-worth, because we're always feeling like we're not doing enough or we're not doing it good enough. And I'm going to tell you right now that because we don't understand the things like hormones and how our body can use fat instead of muscle and all that stuff, we're being set up to fail. You're not actually failing. You were set up to do that. So if this was at all beneficial to you and you want to send this along to your friends, please feel free. I'd be more than happy to chat with them as well. If you end up having questions, there is a chat box. I would love to answer your questions live here. If I don't get any questions, I will make sure to send you an email and ask you privately if you had any questions for me. But I will tell you guys that the Faster Way starts on Monday. You're going to want to get all of your information as early as possible so you can read over everything, send me questions. We will have a prep week. So make sure that you understand prep week is a whole week long of you learning all about the Faster Way. You don't have to be an expert in it. There's going to be a lot of trial and error that week. There's going to be a lot of fun in the group that week. But don't wait until Saturday night to decide, because I would hate to have to turn you away and put you on the waiting list for our Faster Way that's going down in March, because 10 inches around your whole body may not seem like a lot, but compound that so that at the end of, by the time summer comes, you're sustainably have lost 3 to 5 inches from your waist. How amazing would that feel to know that it only took one sign up to learn everything you needed to learn? That's my goal. One sign up to learn what you need to learn. You sign up for a second round, it's because you love the group, honestly. That's why you do it. So ladies, I appreciate all of your time. I love having you. I love answering your questions. I hope that this can promote wellness. I hope that you share this with someone who you know needs to hear this message. You are not broken. You have not tried everything. And I want you to try the Faster Way so that you can understand that eating for fat loss looks so different than eating for health. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you have